My name is Aaron Quigley. I'm the Head of School in Computer Science and Engineering here in UNSW. And 2021 has been a very interesting year for many reasons. We started coming back out of lockdown at the beginning of the year, only to return rapidly to lockdown. But through that time, the staff and the students have done amazing things. We have, just in term 3 that's just wrapping up at the moment, we've had over 10,000 students across all of the different courses, which would typically have been face-to-face on campus. But of course, through the lockdown, we've been doing all of the teaching remotely. And both the staff and the students, our casual staff, our tutors, our demonstrators, have stepped up and really performed very admirably to support the online learning that we've had to pivot to for many of the courses. Now, in many cases, this is reasonably straightforward using the technologies that we actually have available. But for some courses where there's more hands-on elements, this has involved lecturers and demonstrators and tutors sending kit out to students in far-flung corners of the world through to trying to emulate what you might actually experience using hands-on experiences here on campus. But in terms of what we've actually been able to achieve is a growth in our student numbers. We have more students starting in computer science. First preferences for 2022 are way up for domestic students. So we still a very popular and attractive option for students around the world to come and study here. And we really just want to thank the students for bearing with us through this. It's been quite remarkable to see how the students perform well online. And one thing that I think we really want to try to do in all of this is learn from that experience, to think about what the student experience and the curriculum will actually look like in the future. So other things that have been happening in the school is we've been developing a new school strategy around different pillars. So that involves thinking, for example, about the student experience and the curriculum for the future, thinking about how we partner with others to have more impact in the research that we do, thinking about the diversity and the inclusion efforts that we want to take within the school to enhance and improve what we already have, but to make it better. We also want to think about how to enhance the school culture for both students and staff. How do we actually integrate new forms of learning, new forms of research after we come back on campus, and what does that actually start to look like? And there's been some highlights through the year. People like Toby Walsh became an ACM Fellow, Bowalam became an IEEE Fellow. We have examples of students getting Google scholarships, PhD awards. Lena Yao won a Women in Engineering, Women in AI award for her work. We have lots of grant success, people like Soumya and Shri and Xiumin, and Wenjie was awarded an ARC Future Fellowship just a few months ago. And then across the board, lots of awards for PhD students for best papers. The International Collegiate Programming Competition, our students placed very well in the top 5, and they're in the regional championships, and we look forward to them going on to have greater success at the international competitions in the years ahead. I don't know if you can see, but over my shoulder, we rededicated the John Lyons Garden earlier this year. So we had the first inaugural John Lyons lecture in May, where we had a big international group of speakers from around the world and some local speakers come together to celebrate the life of John Lyons. And Professor Gernot Heiser did an amazing job there to organize that series of talks. And then what we did was we added a whole new series of lights to the tree, and then John's widow, Marianne, was able to come along and help us rededicate the tree and relight it. So if you're coming on campus, come one evening and you can see the new tree outside of the K17 building. Another thing that's actually begun and started this year is a new master plan for the refurbishment and the refit of K17. So we've started going through the big master planning for that, and now we've moved on to the more detailed design work for the refurbishment of the ground floor and the first floor of K17. So again, if you come back, hopefully you'll be able to see some changes. Some immediate changes you'll be able to see if you come into K17, go to the lower ground floor, you'll see there's a brand new innovation space that has actually been built out all through 2021. And we're looking forward to some industry-linked events with Cisco and other industry partners down in that space in 2022 as we start to come back onto campus. Other education changes, we've had a review committee start looking at our AI education and start thinking about what future AI education might look like for undergraduate and postgraduate and research students. We've started looking at our lab spaces, and we've invested a lot of money in refurbishing some of the labs and actually putting in a lot of augmented reality and virtual reality equipment into one of the labs, so that that'll be available in 22 for teaching and for research purposes. And one big change we had was Data 61 used to be here in K17, but they left. But then we brought back the Trustworthy Systems group, and we invested a lot of money to allow that group to basically reform and come back on campus. And now that's starting to pay dividends with new grants, new initiatives, new activities that team is actually starting to have happen. And of course, we've seen the beginnings of the IF Cyber Institute for Cybersecurity has just begun this year. The AI Institute is currently hiring its new director and will become real in 2022, and we look forward to having a new institute around critical digital infrastructure starting up in 2022. And I suppose a big thing that we've actually had changing is just a lot of new staff. We've been recruiting in databases and data mining and cognitive robotics and operating systems, distributed systems. We've had 5 new education-focused academics join us. We're currently advertising for people in cybersecurity, and next year we'll be hiring and recruiting more people to grow the staff, because the school is growing in many different dimensions. More PhD students, more staff, more undergraduate students, more taught students. So it's a very exciting period, and we look forward to 2022. So that's kind of it at the moment. A bit of an overview of what's happened in 2021, and we look forward to seeing you back in 2022.